Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Hello everyone. My name is Laura. I am 23 years old. I am French, and I live in a small city in the south of Paris. I have been asked to speak about my journey to Islam. It is an honor to share with you some important moments of my life, and I hope it will be of benefit, inshallah. If I had to put a date on the moment I became a Muslimah, it is quite complicated because I have always considered myself as a believer and as a Muslimah. But the first time I took the Shahada, the testimony of faith, was in 2013, just before Ramadan. So why am I saying that? I think this is related to my context. To give you the big picture, I grew up in a very loving and kind family, alhamdulillah. My father is French. He grew up in a non-religious family. But as far as I remember, my grandma used to go to church for important moments of her life. I never spoke about religion with my paternal grandparents, but I know they were very open-minded because they accepted my mother and they kindly welcomed her without prejudices. My mother was born in France, but her parents were both Algerian. My grandparents came in France in the 60s. My mother grew up in a big family, and she mainly was raised by her mother, my grandma, because her father had to go back to Algeria. My grandma was a Muslimah, and she gave her children values of Islam. But unfortunately, my grandma did not receive a religious education, so she transmitted to her children just what she knew. Because of this mixed background, my brother and I did not get a religious education. My parents raised us with important values, but they did not relate them to a religious source. My first memory about Islam was with my maternal grandma. She used to speak to me about faith, and I remember reading the Quran in French with her, and we spoke about paradise. My grandma has never been to school and she was illiterate, but she transmitted to me the sense of faith. She also taught me a dua to recite before sleeping. Now she has passed away. Allah yarahma. And another thing is that my parents never gave us pork to eat. They explained they did it in order to let us choose in what we would like to believe when we get older. This is a pride act. Not eating pork is the first worship act that my brother and I did, so we were proud to do that, and this simple act tied me to Islam. It is like growing up in a neutral environment where my parents gave us the possibility to choose what we want to be. So, growing up, my brother and I used to do some things related to Islam, like fasting few days during Ramadan, but without really understanding the sense of it. I really started to learn about Islam when I was around 12 years old, because my best friends were Muslimah, and I remember speaking with them a lot at that time. My friends were really example for me, and they spoke me in a very sweet and lovely way. These girls had always had a good character, and I feel I took my first step toward Islam while holding their hands. Every time I had a question, I could ask them. It's still the case today. And then, when I was 15, in 2012, my family and I moved in another city. This is the time I started to learn by myself. And alhamdulillah, today we have a lot of easy accessible content on the internet and on books. At that time, I used to watch lectures about the behavior, the seerah, the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And while I was discovering a lot of things, I kept that private. And I did not speak to my parents, neither my brother. I did not do it consciously. I think I was just focusing on this treasure which is Islam. It was between Allah and I think I was peaceful like that, and I wanted to keep it like this. In order to do this podcast, I have been thinking about my journey, and I realized that this solitude between a believer and his creator is a key. And as a convert, I feel this is a big blessing to have these one-to-one moments just with Allah, like sharing a secret with Him. I realize that Allah is my Rabb in the sense of educator or teacher. For instance, I feel that Allah is the one who has taught me Surah Fatiha and other surah when I started to pray. This is a blessing. Allah put a lot of ease and peace in my process to Islam. I think all believers feel this solitude at a moment in their life. This positive solitude, which should be fed, because when we are believers, we are never alone. Indeed, Allah is near, and I guess converts feel this nourishing solitude right at the beginning of their journey. Regarding my parents, I think they understood I was changing by seeing changes in the way I dressed. I was slowly starting to dress modestly, as I learned that modesty is one of the key values in Islam. The same year, before Ramadan, I said to my best friend that I wanted to fast during the whole month. She said to me, "It is good, but it is better for you to take the Shahada first, the testimony of faith, otherwise your fasting will be kind of empty." It was clear to me I had to take the Shahada, so I said it alone. Again, it was a secret moment, a peaceful act. Allah made things smooth and easy. As I was still learning, 2 years after I started to pray. Again, I said nothing to my parents, but this is difficult to hide when you go 5 times a day in your room without saying anything. Rapidly, my mother discovered it, and then my father too. They did not say anything. I did not speak about it with them, but to my opinion, they let me do this and they were just watching to be sure I will not change. But Alhamdulillah, when we start to practice our religion, it makes us better people. And again, my parents accepted a lot without stopping me, Alhamdulillah. There were moments when it was more difficult, but honestly, Allah always gives the best end. 1 year ago, I decided to wear the hijab. It was the first decision I had to discuss with my parents, because at first they did not understand it. As I said, my worship was mostly done in a private environment. Wearing the hijab is a worship act that is visible. That is why my parents had concerns about it, and honestly, with the current situation, I could understand their concerns. So I first tried to turn to this subject without directly saying I wanted to wear it. Then I spoke to them more directly, but I felt they still not understood my decision. Alhamdulillah, during this discussion, Allah helped me because I was able to speak clearly and with calm. This was a conversation that started with stress and that finished with smiles. Little by little, we could discuss it more. I explained the reasons of this choice. I tried to reassure them about their concerns, and my brother has been a support during the conversations with my parents. Until finally I started to wear it, Alhamdulillah. I really could feel the help and support of Allah. Allah made things more easy than I could never imagine. I remember speaking with the best friend of my brother, who is a convert. He said to us that when he became a Muslim, he did not tell it right away to his parents, but he just wanted to be the best son possible, the best version of himself, in order to show his parents that Islam helps him to be better every day. He said he was carefully cleaning the house, being kind toward his parents and siblings, working hard at the university. A big challenge. But if not for Allah, for whom will we do that? I feel I have still a lot to learn. Learning never ends. And as a convert, I still have to learn how to communicate and to explain. I feel convert people have a lot to do regarding that point, because their relatives and loved ones do not know anything about Islam, or even in a bad scenario, they have heard bad things about this religion. It is like if converts hold a treasure that they really want to share with the people they love, but this requires a real methodology, like Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam did with his father, being kind no matter the situation, and placing trust in Allah's perfect plans. This is it with my story. Alhamdulillah for this religion. All praises be to Allah, who is the best planner, the best support. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.